welcome to another live demonstration. I will often bring you demonstrations, products, techniques. So today I'm going to go back to basics and bring you some new special edition colours from the Schmincke range. These have been made from semi-precious stone and artists have used minerals, stones, anything they can find to make colours over the centuries. And what Schmincke have done is brought out these three colours, which are red opalite, green porphyry and lapis lazuli. Colours with minerals or stones that have been used in history. So these are special limited edition colours in the 5mm tubes, and what we're going to do is have a look at them. So let's have a look at the first one, because they're in a certain order, because Gary said red, green and blue are the order they should come in. What I have noticed is definitely the red opalite tends to feel a bit gummy. This isn't an actual fault. What it is the opalite is obviously quite heavy in the binder, and what happens is we all store our tubes of paint like this. It allows the binder to settle at the beginning of the tube. It's easily solved. One way you can put a cocktail stick and mix in the tube or mix on the palette. It's not a sign of a bad paint, it's just a sign of that pigment is heavier than the binder. You can store your tubes that way up. That will often allow the binder to settle at the top. So like I say, it has felt a little gummy. Two brushes I'll be using, and I want you to see them in their natural state, so when they're dry. When you get a brush, you will find it has a nice clean point and feels a bit stiff. This is to protect it while travelling and to show you how the brush looks once it's wet. So I have a synthetic, which is one of my favourites I use often, and this is a Schmincke. And you'll see the difference. They're both size 10, but you can see the difference in the hair. There's nothing wrong with this. It's natural hair, and it tends to get a little fluffy when it dries, whereas a synthetic retains most of its shape. For the swatches, I'll be using the natural hair because that allows me to get nice, clean, even washes. Now with natural hair, you need to really soak the brush, and I see it quite often. People will just dip it in and start painting. What it doesn't allow, especially with natural hair brushes, is the whole of the hair to get wet, especially inside. So what I sometimes do, I don't like to leave brushes in water for long because it allows water to creep up and maybe crack your handle. But I will just drop this in for a few seconds while I'm putting the paint out. And then a quick flick brings it back to that lovely point you're looking for. So this is the red opalite. Another thing I've noticed about these colours is they're not as strong a pigment colour as you'll get from pigmented paints. These are semi-precious stones that have been used to create the, so again, not wet enough. You need plenty of water with a natural hairbrush. There we go. So you'll see that it's not overly pigmented, but once it dries, it actually has a really nice texture. So red opalite, this is green porphyry, so semi-precious stone. It comes in other colours. There are other types of porphyry, but we're using the green in this colour. So plenty of water. And like I say, it's not as highly pigmented as other colours, quite transparent, but it's a lovely colour. And let's go on to the lapis lazuli. This is actually, lapis lazuli is one of my favourite semi-precious stones. I love the blue and the gold you get in the stone. Oh, dropped it. Uh-oh. So let's have a look at the colour of this. go put it on and allow the pigments to dry. Now, I've got another swatch because I want to show you a couple of things, what happens when they dry. Firstly, can I put it there, Gary?
Put it there,
right.
Yeah, go on then.
I'll move it up. What I don't want to put it on is the wet paint. So when they dry, what I can feel, you can't obviously, is they're actually quite rough in texture. That's they're stone milled pigments, and you can feel the pigments in the paint. That's quite nice. It's quite a nice texture. Again, with any colour, I write the name of it, which is always on the tube. What it also shows you on a tube, let's get rid of this, is its light fast qualities. Now these aren't pigments, they're stone, they're semi-precious stone. So they're not going to fade with light. So their light fastness is really high. They just won't fade. Great thing to consider when doing a painting. Usually it tells me my colour index number, which is the pigment number, but these don't because they don't have pigment numbers. The pigments are the name of the tube. So the pigment's lapis lazuli. I'm saying pigment, I'm saying the stone that's made to create this colour is as it says on the label. It also tells you whether it's staining or transparent. So the box tells me this is semi-transparent and the triangle tells me it's non-staining, and we'll have a look at that in a moment. So it's always good to have a look at your tubes, get the information, and like I do here, I always write them down. Great for reference because sometimes I can't always see, sometimes you've squeezed them into a pan, you don't know that information, and you've got it readily available. Okay, so let me think. The red opalite is from, I'm just looking at my notes, it does say Arizona. The green opalite is from, I didn't write this down on my swatch because I didn't need to know, but I'm just giving you some additional information. Green, it's from France, and the lapis lazuli is sourced from Chile. It's just a little bit of fun information, just shows you where suppliers go and manufacturers go to source their different colours.
Anita?
Yes.
A question for you.
Yes.
David Foxon, he wants to know, are they granulating pigments?
I've read the information and it says they're semi-granulating, but actually when you look at them, I think they're more than semi-granulating. Yes, they do leave that really nice texture. And what I'm going to do is a little demonstration, a little sketch, just helps you to look and feel what the colours are. I know the colours here aren't very exciting and you usually add colours to a painting, but I'll see what I can do with the three colours. So it says...
Sorry, one more question. What paper are you using? I'm
using the SAA practice paper. It's a good artist quality paper that I can just play around with. I like the surface rather than using a much more expensive paper. It gives me everything I need, to be honest.
Is it a knot surface?
I think it's rough surface, actually. I think I might have picked up a rough surface. The knot and the rough are quite similar, but it's only when you start to put the paint on you do notice the differences. I think this is rough, looking at it. But yeah, it's a cellulose practice paper. Okay, thank you for those questions. And what I'm going to do is just have a little play with them. It's the only way you're going to know what they're like. Sorry, I'm going to have to pick up my tube of paint. So only available in these 5mm tubes, limited edition, semi-precious stones, and absolutely fabulous light fastness. You'll notice it used quite a lot of colour or paint because it's just the characteristic, it just took up a lot, especially with the natural hair. So let's have a little play. Let's do a little landscape. I'm going to start up with the red. And you'll notice I've changed brushes. This is personal preference. I like a synthetic hair brush, so I like the gold range rather than the Schmincke to work with. That's just me. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong.
Silver range.
Silver range.
You said gold.
Oh, sorry, gold. I like the silver range. The gold range actually is synthetic and sable mix, but I like the synthetic. Let's try the blue. So they say slightly granulated. I kind of find they're a bit more granulated than slightly. It's a lovely blue. I'm going to take it down into the red. Oh, it's a warm orange colour. This is just playing. I'm not overly worried about what it's going to look like. Pick up some green. Let's do a bit of a landscape. But you can, by playing, you can feel what the paint does. And I think I'm not worried because I'm not doing a finished piece. I'm not worried about what it should look like. Let's mix some blue and green. Let's see if I can darken. What I did find when mixing, you do slightly change colour, but there's not enough strength in colour to get a very different colour. So this was the blue and the green. Let's just add some texture. Again, picking up some more paint. I don't put a lot out because I will clean up the palette afterwards and I don't want to be wasting. If I'm working in the studio, I'll often have the paints out and let them dry. It doesn't really matter. I can go back into them, but I won't be going back into these for a while. So let's just see, I did bring some colour through. You don't normally work with the colours together. I'm just seeing what they do. What I want to see is whether I can lift out. It says they're non-staining, so this should mean I should be able to put a little bit of a cloud. Now this paper does lift out. You just have to be a little bit more gentle because if I rub it too hard it will bobble. It's pretty good. I haven't had huge amounts, but if I really overwork it you do find it tends to bobble. But I'm finding lifting out is really easy. What I'm doing with my hand is I'm just taking off some of the excess water. I want clean water, I want a clean brush, but I don't want it too wet because this technique works best. So that worked quite well. So it's not staining, it's not leaving the colour on as it said. Let me see what colour I can get from mixing. And I don't visualise you having just 3 colours and creating a painting. I'm just seeing what they do. So mixing the blue and the red, it's made a nice grey, which is interesting. And what I also find is the pigments don't always mix really quickly, which again I think is quite a lot of fun. Let's just grey the background off. Let's see if I can get some aerial perspective. Literally just having fun, just playing. I can't get a fully purple because the colours mixed don't work like that. I'm just going to end up playing. You can see the colour of the red opalite comes out. I can't always see, so I'll just stand back. It looks fine. Just showing you the possibilities of the colours. So back to basics, showing you the 3 new colours from Schmincke using semi-precious stones. Limited edition, only available in the 5mm tubes. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you look out for them and think about looking at your paint tubes and seeing what information they tell you. Make swatches, write that down, because I think it's a really good reference. And, you know, maybe treat yourself to a little bit of semi-precious stone. So join us later in the week for a live workshop with the wonderful Addison board.